Well, good morning YouTube on this beautiful, glorious autumnal day. Last week I had to go up to North London, and when I got back I went to put together some of the bits because something happened. I'll get to that in a minute. However, I've got this SD card on loop and it had looped over the good bits, so I shall save you the boredom of the boring bits by just repeating what I said. So first bit of advice is get a 32GB SD card, not a 16. But something happened while I was going up. I went up on the M25 and I'd driven past the new services a few weeks ago, so I thought, oh, I want to pop in there and have a look. So I did, stretch the legs, and while I was going in, everyone that was going in was going a bit slowly because, you know, you could tell it was the first time a lot of people had been in there. And I'm waiting behind this car. I was a good 2 meters behind him. I say car, it was a car converted into a van, as I later discovered that he'd got a blacked out back window, which was totally blacked out, not just sort of, you know, darkened a bit. And the reason I found this out was because all of a sudden he started reversing. Well, my first reaction was to yell out, no, don't do that. Quickly worked out, right, you can't hear that, so press the horn. And he basically connected with my front wheel whilst braking, so it wasn't bad. It could have been a lot worse if I hadn't horned, or if he'd have been going, like if he'd have been further away in the first place. So it was just a little nudge, didn't hurt the wheel, but he got out, basically put his hands on his head in a sort of oh no, what have I done motion on top of his roof. So I'm sat there for a few seconds thinking, right, he's going to have a nervous breakdown. So then me, the victim, started to comfort him. I was like, you alright mate, you alright? And he's like, oh, I can't believe this is awful. I always look out for bikers. He said, I'm really sorry, my brother's a biker. I was like, it's alright, it was an accident, no harm done. And he said, I couldn't see it. And he said, I'm trying to think of how I can stop this happening again. Actually, he said this bit later, when we pulled over out of the main bit. He said, I'm trying to think, you know, I don't want this to happen again. I'm trying to think how it wouldn't, because my window's blacked out. So, very good point. So, lesson to me not to be in the middle of a van in future, to be up so they can see me. So yeah, no harm done was the point. But I had it all on video, and then the blinking loop deleted it, and I had this great idea of when he got out it was going to be David Hasselhoff's head superimposed on his, and it was going to be a little bloody blah wind up. But never mind, it would have been brilliant. But you know, you'll have to use your imagination. But it was a nice little ride out. I didn't get to stop at Ace Cafe because SatNav took me a different way home, and that was one of the things I was mentioning, was SatNav. I'm using a new one. I got an Android phone and I'm using Waze, W-A-Z-E. I used it before when it first sort of came out and people were pretty much inventing the maps, so I'd driven around mapping some of the roads in my town, and it was literally, you know, from the ground up being built. Anyway, I got fed up doing it. I just, you know, when I want SatNav I want to get there, so I started using Google Maps, which I loved. I got Copilot Live for when I'm abroad. We'd gone to France for a few days and I didn't want to rely on an internet connection to get the maps. So that's why I had that, but I thought I'd try Waze again, and it was absolutely superb. all the roads were there now, but also the community involvement is amazing. I knew it was going to tell me things like, you know, there's a speed trap, but people are putting in mobile speed traps, like with the time and date, so you can see, and you have the option to say it's not there anymore. But at one point it said, car on hard shoulder, be careful, and there's a car on the hard shoulder. Obviously later on, if it had gone, you got the option to click gone, but it was absolutely brilliant. So there's a recommendation for a sat nav. It's free and very nice. The other thing I was waffling on about was my camera setup, because I had it plugged in to, I don't know if you can see it, but I got a wire in a 12-volt charger from the battery, obviously, you know, connecting up and powering it now, because if I want to ride, and that was like a 4-hour round trip, I'm not going to have enough battery life, so I've got the USB cable. But so whether or not I'm plugged into the power, I've always got, from the bullet camera, I've got a cable running into the little, you know, little recorder box. I've also got an external microphone with its cable also plugged into this mini recorder box, so no matter what, I've always got 2 wires. And the bullet camera wire itself is actually quite bulky and quite long, so it's a pain in the neck to try and make it neat, and then when you stop it's just a hassle. But also with the added problem of, you know, I need to power it on a long journey, it's now a 3rd cable. So I thought, I'm sick of this. So I was having a look at the latest vlog by Baron von Grumble. He's been given this discount voucher to offer to his subscribers if they go to Action Cameras. So I thought, you know, I'll have a look and see what sort of cameras, because he was talking about the new Drift HD Ghost. So I thought I'll have a look. What I've actually settled for, well, not settled, what I've actually decided on is the regular Drift HD, because the Ghost had something that was absolutely a brilliant idea, and that was you're constantly looping in sort of a maximum 5-minute loop, and if you press a button it will tag it, save the past 5 minutes and the next 5 minutes. So it's a great idea if you suddenly see something funny or dangerous, or you suddenly just, you know, go off on a tangent and start talking and you want to save it and keep it and post it to YouTube. But thinking about it over a couple of days, it was that really cool feature that talked me out of it. I don't just use the camera to vlog, I also leave it on all the time. I've got one in the car and in the van as well, to act as a black box. So if anyone hits me, or if I see something dangerous, or if, you know, I see another accident, you know, whatever, I've got a video record. I've got a video record of it. There you go. Safe scooting. And with that feature of being able to press the button, the problem is, you know, if the worst happened and I had an accident, what's the likelihood of me, as I'm flying from the bike, pressing the button? And then I've lost any evidence that I would have had about what happened. So that was a deal breaker for me, and that is the reason I'm not getting the Drift HD Ghost, because if that was the killer feature and I don't need it, I might as well just get the regular one. There's no point paying any extra for something that I'm not going to use. So there we go, nice little story about why I'm going for the Drift HD. I had another little story about the reason why I was going for the Drift over the GoPro, and that just came down to faff. It's not designed as a camera for bikers, because there's just too much hassle setting it up with all the little configurable clamps and stuff, so forget that. I had a look at the Contour Roam. That was lovely until I realised it doesn't have an external mic input. Deal breaker, because I'd have to have a dictating machine with me or some other, a second thing, and then you've got to line it up in the editing suite or whatever. It's just, you know, I don't want to faff about. The one thing I have realised is that I love doing vlogs. I love watching them, I love doing them, I love thinking about things to, you know, talk about. The community behind it is really cool, I love it. So it's just like you've got a whole load of other new mates that you've all got something in common. You're all bikers, but then there's something more in common in that you're all vloggers as well. So yeah, I really like it, and I'm going to continue doing it. So there you go, that's my little story. See, always have a camera on you, because there's always some pillock who's going to pull out. There's one little thing I'm going to change about the vlogs I do though, is the joke at the end. I'm going to stop doing that because yeah, at first I thought, oh, there's a nice little gimmick, but unless there's like a public outcry about that, and then I'll continue doing it. But if no one mentions it, then I will assume that it's the right thing to do not to bother trying to be funny. If you know, it's down to you, dear listener. So I mean, if there were going to be protests in the streets and people with placards, and bloke on his phone, look, he's already having a moan about it. If there were going to be all that sort of, you know, outrage, it's going to be on the BBC News, then I'll continue. But if not, you'll have to find the humour elsewhere. I shall just focus on interesting content. And obviously if I haven't got any of that, then also please feedback and let me know. You're boring, mate. So I look forward to my next vlog being on the Drift, which is on its way with a 10% discount courtesy of Baron von Grumble. So in real terms, that 10% discount was 20 quid. So 20 double-decker vouchers courtesy of the Baron. So cheers, matey. Also, if anyone is in the Charlton Athletic area of London on December the 8th, I think it is, it's a Saturday anyway, so if December the 8th is a Saturday and you're near Charlton, I shall be going up there at around 3 o'clock, but I can get there earlier if you fancy a beer or something, or a coffee, you know, riding. So let us know. So now I'm just going to stop off for petrol. I should give you a pence per litre update on what it is, and I'll leave it at that. And for those petrol stations that don't like crash helmets being worn in there, I've got a flip top lid which is handy for that. But what I'd love to do, because you know there's always the argument, what if someone's wearing a burqa? You take that off. I've got nothing, no problem with that, but oh, my petrol station's shut. No, it isn't. Oh dear. Okay, calm down, calm down. I do take my petrol station seriously, you know. So what you're charging? 132.9. But yeah, so you turn in. Oh, please remove your helmet. Okay, what I'd love to do is go in, take off my helmet and be wearing a burqa underneath and see what happens.